The year is 2025. From satellites above, the Seraph Glacier looked like an ancient crown of ice, brilliant, majestic, eternal, but drone footage told a darker truth. Great cracks split across its surface, fissures widening daily, like open wounds on a dying giant. The glacier wasn't just melting, it was collapsing, unraveling centuries of frozen history in a matter of months. Scientists on site gave haunting testimony. One ecologist's voice trembled as he described how freshwater rivers once fed by the glacier were now running dry, leaving local wildlife stranded. Herds of caribou had vanished. Migratory birds never returned. Villages downstream faced a future without drinking water. What had been a sanctuary of stability was turning into a slow-motion disaster. The world watched in horror, as news networks called it the death of a glacier. But Seraph's fall wasn't just symbolic, it threatened to raise sea levels, destabilize weather systems, and devastate millions already clinging to survival in a warming world. Protests filled city streets. Scientists pleaded for immediate solutions, but conventional answers, carbon cuts, dams, diversion projects, were years too late. Humanity stood at the brink, staring at an irreversible collapse. And then came whispers of an unseen figure, someone who had vanished from the mainstream years before. Someone who had once been laughed out of conferences and journals. A name resurfaced in obscure scientific circles: Dr. Aris Thorne, a reclusive glaciologist, infamous for her unorthodox ideas, and the only person bold enough to claim that glaciers weren't just ice, they were alive with secrets. The world was out of time, and Dr. Thorne was about to step out of the shadows. Aris Thorne never wanted fame. In her early career, she was ridiculed for suggesting that glaciers had voices. She wasn't speaking in metaphor, she meant it literally. Her studies hinted that deep within the ice, subtle seismic vibrations carried information patterns, like a pulse, a rhythm, even a language. But her papers were rejected. Colleagues called it pseudoscience. One brutal review branded her theories the fantasies of an idealist who hears music in noise. Humiliated, Aris retreated. She left the academic world, working quietly in isolation, building her own instruments, funding her research with scraps of grants no one else wanted. The world moved on, but she never stopped listening to the ice. Then, years later, while analyzing low-frequency seismic data from the Seraph Glacier, she noticed something strange. Amid the chaos of shifting ice and collapsing shelves, there was order, a recurring signature, like a buried message replaying itself. The glacier resonated at a precise frequency, stable against all odds. It wasn't random. It wasn't coincidence. It was a code. That was the moment she realized she hadn't been wrong, she had simply been too far ahead. Seraph wasn't just collapsing, it was trying to speak, and if someone could decode its whisper, they might discover how to save it. World scientists had dismissed her once, but now, as Seraph neared its final days, they had no choice but to listen. Deciphering Seraph's voice was agony. For months, Dr. Thorne sat in a dimly lit cabin near the glacier, her screens flooded with jagged lines of seismic noise. Each spike looked meaningless. Each vibration just another tremor of destruction. Days blurred into nights, the cold seeping through even the thickest walls. She questioned herself, her sanity, her life's work. And then one night, it happened. Exhausted, staring at a frequency map, she began humming. The hum matched a recurring rhythm in the data. Her voice and the glacier's pulse aligned. Patterns emerged. The noise wasn't noise at all, it was music. Piece by piece, she mapped the vibrations, discovering that each pattern corresponded to stress points inside the ice. The glacier wasn't only collapsing, it was revealing how it could heal itself. A natural anchor frequency existed, a stabilizing heartbeat buried within the chaos. When the realization hit her, she wept. The glacier had been speaking all along, but no one had been willing to listen. With trembling hands, she began designing a radical experiment, using amplified sound waves to reinforce that stabilizing frequency, to calm the ice instead of breaking it further. If it worked, Seraph could be coaxed back into balance. If it failed, it would shatter into the sea and take her career, and perhaps the world, with it. The plan sounded insane. Using sound-resonant vibrations as therapy for a glacier, scientists mocked it. Politicians ignored it. But when every other solution had failed, Aris won permission for a desperate last-chance trial. Huge transducers were installed around Seraph's base, designed to hum at the glacier's natural frequency. No melting lasers, no explosives, no machines drilling into the core. Just sound, just harmony. When the devices activated, the earth trembled. For a moment it seemed like failure. The ice groaned, splintered, cracked louder than before. But then, silence. A deep, rolling silence, followed by a subtle shift. Weeks passed, drone footage revealed fewer calving events. Ice flows slowed, stress fractures closed instead of widening. Against every expectation, Seraph was stabilizing. Data poured in, sensors confirmed it. Aris had achieved the unthinkable. A glacier, once doomed to collapse, was healing itself through sound. Her acoustic therapy was not only was rewriting the future. What had once been dismissed as madness was now the only thing standing between survival and destruction. The world erupted in disbelief. Scientists who once mocked her now scrambled to study her methods. Governments begged for her guidance. The Seraph Glacier became a living laboratory, a beacon of hope in the darkest hour of climate crisis. News outlets called her the Ice Whisperer. Children wrote her letters, thanking her for saving the world's future water. Protesters, who once chanted in despair, now marched with hope, carrying signs of Seraph's gleaming surface as a symbol of resilience. But Aris Thorne remained the same, quiet, reserved, almost invisible. When asked how she felt, she gave only a cryptic answer: "I didn't save the glacier, it saved itself. I just helped it speak." Her discovery would ripple through history, not just for saving Seraph, but for transforming how humanity understood nature itself. Glaciers, forests, oceans, oceans, held codes, rhythms, patterns we had ignored for centuries. Aris had proven that survival wasn't about domination, but about listening. And so, etched deep within Seraph's frozen heart was not just ice, but a message for generations, that even in collapse, there is music, and sometimes, in the quietest whisper, lies the loudest salvation.